Hello, hello. Welcome to the news. This week, lots of airliners and add-ons and things. Don't go anywhere. So I am once again joined by my co-host, who apparently now thinks you matter. Gibbo, how are you?
Is that the best you can do, Murph? That took you a few goes to get. Hey, everybody, how you doing? Great to see you.
This is take 8. We're grand, though. This time it's going to start to finish. Just loads of news, Gibbo. So we'll start off with this. And it's sad news. It's disappointing, but, you know, it's still work in progress. This, of course, being the Aerosoft twin Otter. They're after delaying it. What's going on here?
Yeah, Murph. So Aerosoft are pretty active on their forums. The project manager for the Twin Otter is Matthias KOK. How do you pronounce that, Murph?
Coke.
We'll move swiftly on. Yes, so Matthias does interact quite a lot on the forums, and he tells us that there was talk of December 17th being the release date, but they might be looking at some delay here and that they'll know more soon. He says things are looking quite fuzzy right now. So what we do know is that they're closing in, however, on an RC release. And when you dig through a bit of the Cloak and Dagger stuff, it does seem, that the development is actually complete here on the actual aircraft itself. And instead, what Airsoft now are turning their attention to is all the supporting things that goes with the release that you don't really think about, right? So obviously the testing, the sending to the marketplace, the marketing, videos, screenshots, manual translations, making the installer, even talking to partners such as Orbix and SimMarket and so forth. So that's all to happen yet. So, it's touch and go here, no pun intended, whether or not we'll see it this year, but it really is close.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, I think I'd rather wait and have a more complete aircraft. If Aerosoft are looking at this saying, look, it's just not there yet, they're in this game a long time. They're in the flight simulation sphere a very, very long time. So, yeah, look, I trust your judgment. I really want to fly the thing. But, I'd rather wait until it's ready than having something maybe that just doesn't work, But moving on, this is incredible and intriguing. So, Wing 42, we will recognise them from such aircraft as the fastest plane known to man, the Blériot. But they're coming back, and this is going to be their second aircraft that they're going to release, and it is that of the Boeing 247D, a legendary aircraft steeped in history, and, there's a feature list and a half. What can you tell us about this one?
Yeah, Murph, this is a good one, right? So right off the bat, I got to say that this is going to be a very accurate historical representation of this aircraft for sure. It's going to be a true in-depth simulation, I think, that will really, get a lot of simmers very excited about the whole experience. And what Wing 42 tell us is that they're aiming for an early 2022 release, and this one's going to be totally worth the wait for sure. Now, the distinctiveness of the 247D's features that are simulated here is really what intrigues me. Let me give you two examples, right? So the first one is the aileron trim, which is inconveniently controlled through a crank on the floor. And the second is the elevator trim, which is a T-handle on the dash that for some reason is labeled elevator flap control in an aircraft that has no flaps. So who thought of that? Now, of course, this has got some big radial engines, and of course, they generate a lot of vibrations, right? So they'll be seen everywhere across the model, even on the exhaust pipes, the antenna wiring on the outside, nice. Of course, the needles in the gauges. This is going to be really remarkable indeed.
I can't wait for it. And again, you're not just getting an aircraft, you're not just getting a shell of an aircraft. These guys are going through so much detail. You're going to learn so much about this airplane. When the Blériot came out, there was it's such a manual. You learned all about the aircraft, when it was built, how it was built, who flew it, when it was flown. It was almost like a history lesson just buying that aircraft. So I can't wait for this. I love seeing this standard of aircraft. And it's taken quite a while, but you can clearly see why. But that feature list, this is going to be amazing. So speaking of the high fidelity and attention to detail, here we are with another rendition of what looks like a 767 400. Captain Sim is back with a new release, and it is that of the Boeing 767-400. Now, what can we tell you about it? Well, I think it looks very nice. There's no doubt about it. I mean, the model work here looks fantastic. And they've also included the interior. There's a cabin there. But in terms of systems and features, Gibbo, what are they telling us?
Yeah, Murph, this is very similar to what we've seen before with the 777, of course, which does have systems underneath from the default 747. So, yes, if you're into your screenshots, for sure, this might be something that interests you, albeit at a price tag of €30. But yeah, the programming of an aircraft, to behave like its real world counterpart is something else.
Like, look, I get it. I mean, there's going to be users who want to fly these massive airliners without having, waiting 10 minutes for the IRS or whatever to align. Like, I get that. But I don't know. I think my own opinion, and it is that of Murph, but I just think, time would be better spent rather than releasing more aircraft or additional aircraft, is maybe there's scope to work on the systems of these aircraft, because outside of, looking fantastic, and they do look great, the major draw for the airliners is understanding the systems and how to get the thing started and what procedures and how to do it. And I think that's kind of where the airliners need to be at. But look, it's another thing. It's another plane coming into the sim. So yeah,
we'll move swiftly on. I think.
Moving on down the road into the corridor. Look at this. Wait till you hear the news. This here, from the screenshots, as you can see, it's an A220. Now this competes with the Embraer regional jets, but it's an Airbus. This is fascinating because this is it's positioning itself as a freeware project. Gibbo, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Murph, you're right. This one's brought to us by Synaptic Simulations. Straight off, there's no release date yet. It is still very, very early stages of development. They do tell us they'll be bringing the Dash 300 variant of the A220 as its primary focus, with the Dash 100 and corporate versions possible in the future. The 3D modeling, as you can kind of tell, is nearly almost done at this point, and the team are starting to look at textures over the next few weeks. Now, what's interesting about this, Murph, is that a lot of the developers that work for Synaptic Simulations, they do so in their free time, and they also work for Fly-by-Wire, which has resulted in an interesting partnership with Fly-by-Wire, whereby the A220 will be available in the Fly-by-Wire installer once it's released. Nice. And it also will include the custom flight planning system and LNAV VNAV mechanics that we know from the A320 from Fly-by-Wire. It'll be introduced here too. So this is going to be something, I think, of quite a high standard indeed.
And very much so looking forward to flying it, because it's that kind of smaller regional sort of a jet. It's a lot of good is going to come from this. And speaking of which, if they're working with the guys at Fly-by-Wire, these guys are like, hello, they're coming out with all sorts of mad things, custom things. Like they're doing their own coding now. So we got a couple of pictures here in the background, but Gibbo, talk us through the feature list of an update for the A32NX.
Yeah, Murph, you're right. It's really worth calling out some of the phenomenal work that Fly-by-Wire are doing for the A320 at the moment. You can see here some of the visuals to do with cones and wheel chocks, of course, but really what's exciting is what they're doing inside, and particularly to do with the FMS, which has been significantly improved in terms of new LNAV path predictions and terms being made more realistic and accurate within the FMS. There's also holding patterns, as you can see from this particular video as well, whereby procedure and manual holds will be fully supported with, again, extremely accurate path predictions and guidance behavior. And there's TCAS. TCAS is being introduced here as well, which of course will have audio warnings. It says descend. Do you like that, by the way?
Sound pack coming soon.
Yeah, I should record that, right? So that's pretty exciting to see too. So there's lots going on with Fly-by-Wire. There's tons more that I haven't covered, even including integrated weight and load balancing is into now the EFB. So be sure to check out the experimental and the development releases in the Fly-by-Wire installer.
I'm really looking forward to that. And again, like, these guys are doing incredible work. And I think their ambitions are only going to go further and further because, well, the Phoenix is on the horizon to come out as well. So it's going to be interesting to compare like with like. Now, speaking of the high level, high fidelity attention to detail, Just Flight, they continue their work on the BAE 146. And from these screenshots, This looks incredible. I remember these. They still fly. Aer Lingus, I think, still operate these. I think they're called the Avro RJ, I think. But Gibbo, what can you tell us about these?
Okay. Yeah, Murph, like this is the BAE 146. And you're right. I mean, Just Flight would be absolutely forgiven for basking a bit in their glory with the T1 Hawk. But no, here they are again, bringing us the 146 Whisperjet, which will feature 8 variants total, which is the Dash 100, 200, 300. There's a couple cargo variants, and there's even a couple RAF variants as well. So it'll be quite all-encompassing, really. And yeah, as you say, this is a classic British airliner, really. I remember it actually as a city jet, kind of city hopper that would come into Dublin, as well as the Aer Lingus variant, of course. But yeah, we've got some new images here of really some impressive texture work and PBR lighting. And you can see, I think what'll get you excited is the instrument panel and those steam gauges.
Yeah, baby.
So, yeah. So there's early coding work going on now that's on those cockpit animations and systems. So this is going to be one to watch, but it looks impressive already.
It really, really does. And again, like, it's Just Flight absolutely hit a home run, I think, with the Hawk. So many new things and new standards achieved in the sim. Really looking forward to this to see what they can pull out of the bag. But again, it's just that it's the right size sort of aircraft for the short hops. And as you said, you know, cargo variants. The whole idea with this aircraft, the Whisperjet, it was incredibly quiet, which allowed it to fly in and out of cities at night time and all that kind of jazz. So much so that the royal family used these aircraft for traveling around. So that could be interesting, reenacting some missions. Do you know? But yeah, really, indeed, right? So carry on. But yes, moving on. Now, the hint is in the name here, right? The clue is in the name. Airport static aircraft. It does exactly what it says on the thing, but it adds static aircraft to airports. But what I like about this is because it's on the marketplace and it's also available over on the Xbox. Gibbo, what exactly is this?
Yeah, Murph, you've covered a lot of it already with your intro. So this is brought to us by LVF4, and it'll be hundreds of hand-placed airplanes based on real-world data across 41 airports across the globe. There'll be hundreds of varieties of aircraft models and airlines. And there's quite a variety, as I say, including helos, biz jets. There'll be cargo aircraft, small to large airliners, even military aircraft will get included there. So I think what's most interesting about this is, as you say, that it's available on the in-sim marketplace and will be a first really for Xbox users to really help populate their airports.
Yeah, it just adds that bit of realism that was kind of missing. There are no custom liveries there. Although I did see, I think it's Bredock, the guys who built the Eurofighter, and other bits and bobs, the 737. Anyway, they've released liveries now on the marketplace, which is interesting because if they're using real world liveries and they're selling them, how does that work that Microsoft can't do it? Do you know? I don't know, whatever red tape is there, but it's definitely interesting. But that's not all for traffic. That's static traffic. That just looks, well, it just stays there looking at you. This other thing, this is the answer to all my questions. FS Live traffic liveries. I won't go into it because there's so much of a feature list here, but Gibbo, tell us some of what's happening with this.
Yeah, Murph, we've covered a few of these, right? Systems that do inject traffic into the sim. We've covered Aerosoft's simple traffic. Mm-hmm. We've covered the AIG AI traffic. We've covered the one from LVF4 just a moment ago. And here's yet another one, which is Flight Sim Live Traffic Liveries. Now, for me, this is the one. This is the one that you want. Now, it is, unfortunately, work in progress. It's not out yet, but let me tell you about it. So this is another independent to the sim online traffic injection system that'll inject IF4 and VF4 traffic that's based on Flight Radar 24.
Ooh, nice.
So it'll be... So it'll have worldwide, so across the entire globe, sensible parked aircraft based on real data. So there'll be no more randomly parked aircraft. They'll even have unique liveries that are based on the tail number for that aircraft, which is quite phenomenal. At time of recording, they have already from scratch built over 700 liveries at this time, all in 4K. And there's a ton of extras that come with this too, including new effects. Every plane will use realistic ground roll on takeoff and landing, and the list kind of goes on. What I think will be of interest to you most is that there's native VATSIM support with all lights and animations.
Nice.
And finally, it has an installer, which sounds silly, but an installer is huge, certainly when you compare it to some of the other ones that we've covered, where not only will it make it easy to install, but it'll make it easy to manage as well. And of course, not create a mess in your community folder, which is always important.
Guilty. It's I'm so excited for this, and it's an interesting kind of discussion point, right? Because, you know, when you find third-party developers who are so passionate about whatever it is add-on that they're working on, be it an aircraft, you know, be it a scenery, or be it an add-on like this, it kind of makes you think, you know, we've seen it already in the past with Microsoft. They've approached working title because they really liked what they were doing with the Garmin units and so on and so forth, that they've now partnered with them. Come on in here, lads, and work on this. This product, I think it has huge scope for that, because when people put it up in the bug tracker, you know, oh, I want to see this, and you know, can you guys work on that? I imagine the development team then have to go off and figure out what it is and then put in their own implementation. Meanwhile, you have a very capable and passionate third-party developer team somewhere who can just do this stuff. So, yeah, I'm super excited about this, and the fact that it's simplified, whereby it has its own installer, the fact that it'll integrate with VATSIM, that's huge, and the fact that it's going to be looking at data from Flight Radar. I mean, you could literally have your Flight Radar beside you, and it's going to inject it straight into the sim. That's pretty awesome as well. So really looking forward to this one. There's no news of release dates or alphas or betas or any of that yet?
Not yet.
Soon. You know, but yeah, really looking forward to it. So well, that's it. That's the news for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed the show this week. I hope you learned something, and yeah, don't forget to catch us over on the live streams every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, 2000 Zulu time, over on twitch.tv/2tone Murphy. It'll be on the thing, and well, that's it. I'll see you soon, and take care.